Federal Executive Council approves 30.77 billion for power, aviation, transport and other sectors. African countries need strong policy actions that will ensure a robust and sustainable recovery, says the United Nations. 4.7 trillion naira debt, AMCON pays 2 trillion naira to the Central Bank of Nigeria. And Japan's Nikkei 225 jumps more than 1% as investors react to data releases across Asia Pacific. We also have breaking news coming in that the WTO forecast 8% trade growth in 2021 after a contraction of 5.3% in the year 2020. This is Business News Express, and it is reaching you on the network service of the NTA. And my name is Leah Katung, Babatunde, your guide. Federal Executive Council has approved over 10.7 billion naira for the design, manufacturing and the supply of the 4 power substations in Damaturu, Potiskum in Yobe State, as well as Biu and Maiduguri in Borno States, all in efforts to boost power supply in the country.
1. Approve the payment of the claims and the variation of offshore and onshore costs of the existing contract for the construction of 1 by 150 MVA 330, 132, 33 kV substation at Damaturu and 1 by 330 kV line by extension at Gombe.
Project Lighthouse has brought together data from the FIRS, the Nigerian Customs Service, the Corporate Affairs Commission, as well as data from BVN in one central point. We also were able to get data from 3 states, land registry data from the FCT, from Kaduna State, as well as from Lagos State, and other states will also be joining in the second phase.
The Ministry of Aviation had a memorandum that was approved, and this is a contract for the provision of airport management solution for the international airports of Abuja and that of Lagos and the Kano, Port Harcourt, and also Enugu, in the sum of 10,594,057,618 naira and 20 kobo.
Also, 5 memos were approved for the Ministry of Transport that include a memo for the award of contract for the procurement of modular tamping machines at the cost of 630 million naira for the Nigerian Railway Corporation.
Is for immediate use in Agbo. The second memo was a memo asking for Council's approval for the award of contract for the procurement of 1 reach stacker, the sum of 247,062,708 naira. This is for the benefit of the National Inland Waterway Authority for its Lokoja River Port. Another memo by the Ministry of Transportation which sought Council's approval to seek Council's approval for the award of contract for the removal of wrecks along the Badagry Creek from Tinkan Island to Navy Town, Lagos State, in the sum of 3,587,955,2 266 naira 40 kobo.
Now, the Assets Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, has repaid 2 trillion naira out of its 4.7 trillion naira commitment to the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. Managing Director of AMCON, Ahmed Kuru, who stated these, said the corporation has achieved its first mandate of purchasing the non-performing loans, NPLs, and providing liquidity to commercial banks. In terms of recoveries, he said AMCON has made a total recovery of above 1.2 trillion naira, sold assets worth about 500 billion naira, and resolved close to 5,000 eligible bank assets. He also noted that the fundamental objectives of the establishment of AMCON was to rescue commercial banks and some underlying strategic businesses in Nigeria from the brink of collapse in the aftermath of the global financial crisis of 2008 through acquisition of non-performing loans and to dispose of the underlying assets in the most profitable manner. Now the dollar held near a multi-month high against other major currencies on Thursday as investors bet fiscal stimulus and aggressive vaccinations will help the United States grow faster than other economies. Some better times are here for Nigerian women who have been in the front of campaigns for equality and inclusion. The Africa Export-Import Bank, Nexen Bank, is partnering the Nigerian Export-Import Nexen Bank to mobilize a $50 million project preparation fund to provide technical assistance to bankable small and medium enterprises, including those promoted by women and youth, in a bid to consolidate on the economic recovery process.
Leah recognizes that women's economic empowerment is not only important in its own right, but it is also smart economics, with the potential to bring about broad-based growth and poverty alleviation at the national level and state level.
Under this partnership, we wish to mobilize up to $50 million towards providing technical assistance to increase pipeline of bankable projects, particularly from SMEs, where the women and youth have their businesses.
I'm now being joined by Stella Okotete. She is the Executive Director, Business and Development at the Nigeria Export-Import Bank, and she will be throwing more light on the partnership with Nexen Bank on agro exports and how it will be affecting players in the SME sector on the back of the International Women's Day. You're welcome, ma'am, to Business Express.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
So, tell me, please, how does it work and who are the beneficiaries of this fund, the targeted beneficiaries?
We launched the YF fund 2 days ago in Abuja here. The purpose of the fund is to stimulate and increase funding to women and youths in the export value chain. We also, as a team, came up with an acronym PAVE, which means produce, add value, and export. And so, for us at Nexen, we're working towards exporting value-added produce and products from Nigeria. And so our targets are basically small and medium-scale businesses, women, and youths. And you agree with me, these are the workforce that can actually grow a strong economy.
So any targeted products?
It's across manufacturing, agro-allied, solid minerals, and services. And so we're funding export of services to the world. We're funding export of processed hibiscus, sesame, cocoa, ginger, garlic, solid minerals. There's a whole lot of demand for Nigerians' non-oil produce. Solid minerals, which is inclusive. We have lead ore, we have a whole lot of stones, gold, so we're going to definitely work, in partnership with critical stakeholders across the manufacturing, agriculture, solid minerals and service export entrepreneurs to support their export with these funds.
Okay, so the good news now is that we have AFCFTA in place, and every country on the continent is looking for a market space. So how will this particular project help Nigerian businesses in the SME sector to gain some sort of leverage with the AFCFTA?
With the coming of AFTA, we're hopeful that would support Nigerian businesses to feed Africa, to clothe Africa. You can see I'm wearing a dire this beautiful morning. And so our drive is to see that we export made in Nigerian goods to the whole of Africa. With our population, with the teeming workforce that we have, and with the funds and the backing of our shareholders, we'll definitely be playing a very active role in the African free continental trade.
Okay, so now the question, another question that we've always had to deal with from our feedback centers. What do these people, who are the target beneficiaries, what do they stand to gain, and perhaps what is the process for them to get in on this moving train?
For the country, we have a whole lot to gain because we're talking about jobs. Every fund that will be availed to exporters, processors, will definitely create new jobs for our people. It's at a single digit, which is one of the best you ever get anywhere in Africa today. We're also looking at ensuring that you have bankable business products that we can fund. So we'll be organizing some webinars all through the season to get the small and medium scale business owners and entrepreneurs, ready to, draw down from the facility. We're also targeting the young Nigerian youths. We need more Nigerian youths to play in the export value chain. And that's why you heard the name women and youth. So we try to strike a balance, bringing the women to the fore who really play in the entire export value chain, especially in the agro-allied space. The women are in charge of the cocoa space, they're in charge of sesame, hibiscus, ginger. They do the drying, the packaging, and now we want them to actually be more aggregators, exporters, and manufacturers of finished products from Nigeria. It will interest you to know that Nexen Bank funded the first sesame oil processing plant in West Africa, in Lagos. And now we have finished, already processed sesame oil being exported to Egypt, to Dubai, India, and China. And so we want to replicate this across all key sectors. Also for shea butter. We also funded one of the biggest shea processing plants in Nigeria. We're funding 2 others in Niger State. At the end of Q2, we hope that with these 3 plants being completed and into production, we'll definitely be topping the export space, the shea butter export space in the world.
Okay, so what are the monitoring and evaluation steps you've put in place to ensure that these funds are actually used for what they're meant for? And then the major one is paying back.
Okay, all our funds are adequately collateralized, which is in line with the policies of the central bank. We also have our staffs who are on hand to handhold the exporters, especially the small business owners and the young entrepreneurs we are bringing into the export pool. So we'll definitely be carrying out timely monitoring and advisory services, which is very key, because once you give them your money, you expect that the market is available, and which we know is available. So we'll definitely be reviewing the export contracts to ensure that exporters are not, exposed to fraudulent buyers, and the pricing is also right. With all of this in place, I'm sure we'll be able to closely monitor and get back this fund so more Nigerians can actually draw down from our products.
So let's say I'm a young person who wants to begin to export. What are the key steps I need to take?
Right now, I'm sure you're already being exported to the world. You're doing a good job here. And what you really need is a bankable business plan, which is a business feasibility study. You need to be registered because we're managing taxpayers' money. So definitely you have to be a registered business in Nigeria. You're paying your tax. Your financials are in place. And you have an export contract, which is very key and very important for you to carry out that. And above that, because we are not just creating jobs, we're also trying to increase our foreign earnings outside oil. We expect that all your exports must be, NXP. You must be registered with the CBN and the customs.
Okay, so now the exporter, just for the sake of our viewers now, is it the exporter who will be getting the export contract, or you would assist them in getting the contract?
We have an SME desk that can also do a bit of market linkage and financial advisory services to the exporters. But we expect that when you're going into a business, you already have a market. And if you do not have a market, we could definitely support you with getting you some verified export contracts. And what we're doing in Nexen is that we are funding the entire value chain of export, because we want to also see that we have retail packaged goods leave Nigeria to shelves all over the world. We want to see made in Nigerian brands in Tesco, in Sainsbury's and all of that. So we're working closely with exporters, and we'll definitely achieve that. We're also working with key stakeholders. We are like NEPC and the quarantine service and all of that, players in the export space, to ensure that we're not just taking out anything, we're taking out quality, well-branded products out of Nigeria to the world.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much,
I've been speaking with Ms. Stella Okotiti, the Executive Director of at the Nexen Bank. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Great. Next is our Surviving COVID-19 series.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
He has been a farmer since childhood and delved into agriculture business as a teenager until he decided to build an abattoir 10 years ago. His reasons:
the meat of Nigeria cannot be eaten by dogs in Europe or South Africa. Let me pioneer starting a modern abattoir, since I have some cattle on my own. So I mobilized all the monies I have, some property I had, I sold them.
It was a commercial abattoir, but with COVID-19, they had to resort to private services where they only butcher on request.
Due to the close down, we cannot bring cattle from Niger, Cameroon, and other places which were our source of cattle. So everyone has to source whatever he needs within Nigeria.
While agriculture in general is said to be one of the sectors heavily affected by the pandemic, Tafida is of a different opinion.
COVID-19 is not a threat to agriculture at all. Go to Taraba and see how people from Zamfara, Katsina, Sokoto have moved down in this dry season, and they are doing dry season rice farming. Wonderful. But it is 90% of the food we are eating is not imported. So the effect is not felt. But the only way the effect was felt, because the farmer uses most of his input as imported input.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
The Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, are perfecting plans to set up a standing committee on the resolution of remedial issues arising from the NTA audit report and recommendations. Abdul Malik Hassan reports.
It's like a meeting between the examiner and the candidate. But here, NTA and NNPC are working out plans on how best to exchange views that will provide public value in the ongoing reforms in the extractive sector.
We insist that this should be based on mutual respect. NTA has no interest to compromise the job of NNPC, and NNPC should at least respect the mandate and strength of NTA at all times. That will help the two organizations to grow, and that will help to build public trust and confidence in our citizens who have so much confidence in the work of NTA. For the first time in 43 years, the audited financial statement, NNPC on our recommendation is now a member of the global EITI, joining global oil companies. And to become a member of the EITI is a lot. You committed to a lot, and some of which you are already doing.
Closure did to us can be easily quantified in terms of our relationship with our financing institutions. A number of our transactions do take long periods of time in the past because they have no access to our records, they have no access to our financial statements. And since we opted to disclose our financial statements, the speed with which we close financial transaction has been monumental. Probably we have gained about almost, we do them at a quarter of the time that we would have ordinarily taken.
There is the optimism that this partnership between NTA and NNPC will yield positive results that will facilitate transparency and accountability to drive the petroleum industry to greater heights.
Now, just a quick reminder that the World Trade Organization has released its latest forecast where it puts trade growth for the year 2021 to rise by as much as 8% after a contraction of 5.3% in the year 2020. Prospects for a quick rebound in world trade, also economists say, has improved, and an uneven recovery after the COVID-19 shocks is on the way. Let's now see how the commodities market is faring this Thursday. Nigerian Stock Exchange ends March 0.57% lower amid negative market breadth. And away from home, Japan's Nikkei 225 jumps more than 1% as investors react to data releases across Asia-Pacific. Neka Oko reports.
Stocks in Asia-Pacific were higher in Thursday trade as the second quarter kicked off with several economic data releases across the region. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index led gains among the region's major markets as it rose 1.48%. Nikkei 225 climbed 0.72% in afternoon trade, while the Shanghai Composite gained 0.71%. European stocks advanced slightly on Thursday ahead of a raft of data releases from the region. London FTSE added 0.43%, with technology stocks climbing 1.1% to lead gains, while oil and gas stocks edged 0.3% lower. Meanwhile, U.S. stocks were mostly flat in early trading Thursday as Wall Street looked to build on a solid March following the rollout of President Joe Biden's infrastructure plan. The plan includes spending on roads and bridges as well as green energy and water system upgrades. Contracts tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average dipped just 6 points, while those for the S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 were in mildly positive territory. Neka Oko, Business Express.
And of course, with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Business Express. Remember to keep in touch with us, so do send in your comments, observations, and suggestions. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now. The hashtag is BizX. Business Express returns Friday at 3 p.m. I am Leah Katung Babatunde. It is April Fool's Day. If you must be fooled, at least don't lose money. Bye for now.
never get this kind of thing, or I hear it.
Abuja Intra-Projects Agency then called me because we are partner with them. They say you should come. There is a survivor fund that the government wanted to give technicians.
They capture everybody, including food seller in my own workshop.
When my chairman called me that there is